Donald Trump has apparently given the Secretary of Defense full autonomous control to set troop levels in Afghanistan, which actually follows a trend. We know that months ago, he took off much of the civilian sort of independent oversight of airstrikes being launched in places like Syria and Afghanistan, and we know what effect that's had. There have been far more dead civilians in the wake of that policy change than before it. And many are concerned about this change in terms of Afghanistan. I mean, we're supposed to have civilian control of the military here in the US, and it seems like Donald Trump not too interested in continuing that, which perhaps under Trump is okay, but going forward when we have other presidents, I would hope that we would reestablish that longstanding tradition. As well, one more way that Trump care could theoretically screw you over. It is likely that in the final version that the Senate will vote on will be an elimination of the elimination on annual and lifetime spending caps on your insurance. So basically, under Obamacare, they couldn't say if you go over a certain dollar amount in 1 year or over the course of your life that you cap out and can't have any more benefits anymore. It's likely that those caps will return, and it will affect a lot of people. It's estimated that annual limits could hit 27 million Americans every year, and the lifetime caps will hit at least 20 million. And think about what would have to happen to you for you to hit those lifetime caps. I mean, that means that you've had horrific accidents or some sort of serious chronic illness for a number of years, and suddenly your insurance could be 100% worthless. So look forward to that if the Senate actually does vote in favor of Trump care.
I was talking to, of all people, Haas this morning. So that
about lifetime limits on.
So I immediately showered, but then after that, no. But we were discussing what Democrats need to do regarding the AHCA. Is that what it is? Because there's the argument, of course, that in all this Russia talk, that perhaps you could argue that the focus on Russia is allowing issues, that is allowing the Republicans to do things like sort of seemingly without enough people paying attention, have the Senate pass a version of the AHCA.
It's possible. I mean, look, Claire McCaskill, we played a video. So we've returned to Obama. I mean, obviously we've covered Obamacare and the AHCA many times, but just in the past week, probably 3 to 5 times. And we showed last week, Claire McCaskill was pushing for them to commit to open hearings, and she was trying, and they just refused to do it. They just don't care.
It's like, but I mean, I would do it. I would recommend that there be like a moratorium that the Democrats acknowledge, like, hey, for the next 5 days, the media wants to talk about it, fine. We're not talking about Russia because we're not going to let them do this.
Well, look, I think that would be a great move. I think anything that puts more pressure.
Yeah, sort of, so every Democrat on every show this weekend says, I'm not talking about Russia this weekend because what they are about to do is outrageous, and here's why.
I would support that. I think we should do that.
But it needs to be a cohesive, thought out strategy, like, and it needs, I think, to be big.
Yeah.
And then you can go back and talk about Russia. In fact, should go back and talk about Russia.
Well, I would support that. I know that you watching the show, necessarily you can't force them to do or not do anything, but of course you can put pressure on your senators, regardless of whether you come from a blue or a red state. You can call into the Senate switchboard and put pressure on them. I read reports today that Lisa Murkowski is apparently very uncomfortable about the current state of the HCA, which means that perhaps with a little bit of pressure, she can be pushed to do the right thing. But actually, in reference to yesterday's news of the tragic shooting near the Capitol, a Republican congressman introduced a bill today that would allow those with concealed carry permits from their home states to exercise concealed carry inside of the District of Columbia. Now, of course, the obvious reaction should be, I think, well, this wouldn't have had any effect on what happened yesterday, since even those who exercise concealed carry probably don't carry their guns onto a baseball field. But this is the response that we will see after every mass shooting. More gun rights, more gun sales. It's the solution that never actually solves anything. And
agreed. And it's just, we don't need everyone's hot take on something like this right after this happens. So I'm not advocating that this is not the right time to talk about gun control. When you have a mass shooting, it is exactly the right time to talk about gun control. Yeah. But when we don't have all the information yet, when we are unclear on the extent of Steve Scalise's injuries, when we don't know exactly what happened. Again, the degree I was awake and following on Twitter and then on websites when it happened yesterday, since I was up very early, and just the number of things that were reported in the first hour, many of them turned out to be wrong.
Yeah.
In the first 2, 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah, so people really need to calm down in the first hour.
Just hold on a second. The story's not going anywhere, and your incredibly valuable take on it will be okay tomorrow.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think you're actually allowed to correctly identify the person who commits an act like this until you've dragged 1 or 2 completely innocent people through the social media grinder, and that happened in this case as well. But finally, you probably remember from less than a month ago, the Turkish president was in DC. There was a protest outside of the place that he was staying. And then while other people attacked the protesters, his security forces also ran out and began beating peaceful protesters. Thankfully, arrest warrants have now been issued for members of President Erdogan's security detail. There are also warrants out for 2 Americans as well. I think that they're slightly more likely to get those 2 people than the security forces, but it is good that they are actually taking some action on this. We can't encourage the security forces of foreign dignitaries to begin beating people they disagree with.
No, let's leave that to Turkey.
They can do it there.
Yeah, sure,
okay? And they will, but yeah. So that's a good step, although we don't know if it will actually result in any action.
Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.